It's the most wonderful time of the year, with the kids jingle belling and everyone telling you be of good cheer. It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's the happiest season of all, with those holiday greetings and gay happy meetings when friends come to call. It's the happiest season of all. There'll be parties for hosting, marshmallows for toasting, caroling out in the snow. There'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. It's the most wonderful time of the year. There'll be much mistletoeing and hearts will be glowing when loved ones are near. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Marshmallows for toasting and caroling out in the snow. There'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. Long ago. It's the most wonderful time of the year. There'll be much mistletoeing and hearts will be glowing when loved ones are near. It's the most wonderful time. It's the most wonderful time. It's the most wonderful time of the
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. And now to honor America, please join in the singing of our national anthem. Representing the three-time Stanley Cup champion New Jersey Devils, Arlette.
I feel like I'm at a game, oh my gosh. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Happy Devils Sunday. It's a happy Festivus Sunday. This is the Let's Go Devils podcast, season 2, episode. Is it 16? I think it's 16, Beer Baron.
Yeah, it is 16, sir.
On this lovely day, this lovely Sunday, it is happy Festivus. Devils fans, we're going to try something new tonight. We are going to be taking fan callers on this podcast, and we haven't done this in a very, very, very long time. I am your host, Sam Wu, here with Beer Baron. I'm in my other studio. I'm in a remote location because I don't want to be seen right now. Reason why? After watching that debacle today, I mean, Beer Baron, let's put it this way. I got to the game late. I had to do some family stuff, right? And, well, I'll tell you, it was already 2-0. The Devils were down 2-0 by the time I got to my seats. So today we're just going to air our grievances about the New Jersey Devils. 2018 is coming to an end, and the Let's Go Devils podcast is still marching on. We will be at Tavern on the Rocks.
That's
December
right.
27th, which is this Thursday, for a live pregame party. We're going to do a pregame podcast, and then we're going to have a viewing party, Devils versus Bruins, and our special guest who has confirmed, number 23, Bruce Driver, former captain, Devils alumni president, and Stanley Cup champion. Beer Baron, I'm out of breath right now, but there's a lot of emotions going on because I got some grievances, and then we got our big event, and we're also doing the podcast and on the cusp of Christmas Eve.
Well, we will, first of all, I'm going to give a big shout out to my buddy, Will Bauman, who's watching right now. And Terrence Brown in the Facebook group says today's game was a total disgrace. You're 100% right. You know, like you said, you showed up when it was already 2-0. That's like walking in the bedroom and finding your girlfriend with the mailman again. You know what I mean? Like it's like, it's a terrible feeling to walk in the game. You get excited. You're like the Heritage jerseys. Everything is going to be fun. You walk in down 2-0. And what made it worse was they were down 2-0 off of 3 shots. You know, Kincaid was not sharp today. The team overall didn't look sharp today. It was just one of those games that you kept expecting something to like change or break, and it never did. It just never. They're skating in quicksand. I don't know what's going on, but it seems like the Columbus Blow Jackets have had the Devils number for the last couple of years. I don't know if it's John Tortorella's influence or whatever the case may be, but for whatever reason, it was a terrible experience. So what we're going to do today is you could be the pessimist, I'll be the optimist. Gary said that the jerseys look nice. He says, I do like the jerseys. I agree. Those things are sweet. In fact, I can't wait to get mine. Hopefully Santa Claus is going to be ho in his way down my chimney.
I got a grievance. I got a grievance already.
Jersey too?
I got a no. Well, kind of. I got a grievance about this jersey.
Oh my God!
Here is my grievance. All right.
I love it.
And this. Well, no, I love it too. Beer Baron. I love it too. I'm looking at the wrong one. I'm like, I love it too, but I love the new Heritage jerseys. But here's where I have a problem with it. What about the fans that were around in the 80s that have preserved their real Heritage jerseys? Now it's like, I feel like, in my mind, it's like, hey, these jerseys are cool. But at the same time, I'm like, these are knockoffs from the 80s. Like, I got the real stuff. I've got my Alexander Seamark jersey. I've got Ken Danico jersey, and these jerseys date back to the 80s. I got my 6th grade green starter jacket jersey, which they brought it back to life. I mean, basically, I know it's cool. They're in high demand and this and that, but every time I see these jerseys, I'm like, that's from 2018.
I gotta
1986.
I gotta stop you dead in your tracks. All right, number one. We'll say hi to everybody out there. We'll say hi to Chrissy and Eric and Gary. Gary says, like, let's try to be positive. I agree with Gary. We have to try to keep a positive spin on this. And Gary, no, you can actually get a customized jersey. I looked it up on NHL.com. If you go through the NHL.com/shop, you can find a heritage jersey. You can actually customize it through their website. It is kind of a pain in the butt to get to, but you can get more than just Hall and Nico. I think Hall and Nico, you can only get those. I think I could be wrong about this, but I think it's Hall, Nico, Brodeur 30, and Brodeur 29, which, if anybody knows, when Brodeur first came up with the Devils, they were still wearing those heritage jerseys, and he came up wearing number 29 before he was sent back to the minors, and then came back up wearing number 30. So, they have these retro jerseys to bring them back. I think it's sweet. If I were a Hartford Whalers diehard fan, I think I'd be more angry watching the Carolina Hurricanes skating around in the Hartford Whalers like full gear, just because I'd miss my team. But honestly, I think it's fun. I think it's cool. I think it looks nice. I'm actually a fan of them bringing them back full time and going back to the old school look. I love the black and red, but something nostalgic about that green, red, and white. I think it looks super sharp. So I'm sorry. I'm trying to read all these different things. What's up, Eric Burns? How you doing, man? Got to the point where I was in the stands laughing instead of being pissed. That's what Chris said. Yeah, that's kind of like the overall feeling. There was a lot of booing, and it translated perfectly through the television. But I want to ask you, Sam, since you were actually at the game, what was the overall atmosphere? Because this is the Jekyll and Hyde 2018 New Jersey side, or New Jersey Devils side of the season, right? So one game you have where Taylor Hall makes probably the craziest goal you'll see all year, where Sami Vatanen basically bats the puck out of the goal, with the shaft of his stick. Kyle Palmieri and Taylor Hall go on a breakaway going the other way. They have this beautiful connection. It's like the crowd goes crazy. Everybody's raving about how the building sounded. It was like a playoff atmosphere. And then you have a game like this to follow it up, and it's just such a joke. And it seems like everybody's pissed. And I'm trying really hard to be positive, but it's getting harder and harder. Hey, Jack Hughes, that's the reason to be positive.
You know what? Let's put it this way. If you didn't read the internal memo of the Let's Go Devils podcast, we're supposed to air our grievances today, right? We're supposed to air our grievances. Call us at 516-531-9321. We'll try to get to your calls. And by the way, I got a grievance. Jake Wakely, the one that just keeps on emailing us to call into the podcast, now is your chance. You can call into the podcast. We know you could do it, Jake. I know. And
Donald Smith Jr. says he's too sad to call in. Donald, it's okay. we can use this as a therapy session too if you want. I'll talk anybody off the ledge that wants to call in.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you never know. Shorts guy may call in. Right now he's coaching a JV hockey game, a JV high school hockey game, which was added on the schedule at the last second. So we don't have Shorts guy. So I got a grievance there, right? I have a big grievance there that we don't have Shorts guy tonight. And Scotty, our E-Bub, our emergency backup broadcaster, is what did he say? He's doing some drinking championship.
Listen. He won the our fantasy football championship today, beating the probably the biggest heel in our entire league. So he had every right to go out and go drinking. And to his credit, he wasn't 100% sure that he was going to be needed tonight. And he was really upset. He was like, he called me and he's like, man, I'll try and get home. And I was like, no, just enjoy your championship.
Yeah.
Celebrate, have a few beers on us. But yeah, honestly, this is what my biggest grievance with the team is. If we want to really get into grievances, my biggest grievance with this team right now is that you don't know what you're going to get, because it seems like the effort in one night is completely different than the effort in the next night. And honestly, one of the biggest positives that I'm going to try and pull out of all this is John Hines basically said at the end of the game today, he said Mackenzie Blackwood is going to get a serious look after this break. And that is a big statement right there. And I mean, if you're a Devils fan, this is something that you're excited about, because this is a kid that you should be excited about. He has gone from the ECHL playoffs in April and has gotten his way all the way up to the NHL level. Granted, there was a few injuries and things like that, but he's shown he's got the athleticism, and I think he's got what it takes to at least make an impact on this team. Worst case scenario, the Devils suck and we go down this downward spiral and everything kind of falls apart, and we end up getting Jack Hughes. So it's all good. It's all good.
Well, I'll tell you what. I was a negative Devils fan Sam Wu today. Now, I did not boo the team. I did a couple woos sarcastically. No, I was doing sarcastic woos like
Short guy. He texted me. He's like, "Are you sure you don't want to boo this team?" And I was like, "Listen, I'll roll my eyes and I'll throw my hands in the sky, but I cannot boo my own team."
Eric Burns writes, "If a team is playing bipolar, that is coaching." I'm gonna like that.
It could be.
But so I was doing sarcastic woos, and then somewhere along the line, I just started yelling, "Tank, tank, 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 tank." Fun stuff.
Get a Jack Hughes wave going.
Yeah. Come over to the dark side, Hughes.
Yeah.
Come over here. But yeah, I mean, it was just, let's just say this. Here's some positive, and it may be negatively sarcastic coming out of my mouth, but here are some positives of the game. Number one, thank goodness the Flyers still can't get it right, where they let, goalie Bob, go to the
Bobrovsky. Yeah, but they have Carter Hart. Now they have Carter Hart, and everybody's gushing over this kid.
That's true, but in this juncture, thank goodness they don't have both of them right now. So that's one thing, because he's a great goaltender. I mean, there were a lot of great saves that he made. Some of the 5-on-3 power plays today, I thought they were moving the puck well. I know a lot of Devils fans are doing the infos, shoot it, without even looking at what's going on the ice.
You stand up and turn, you're like, it's intermission.
You know what? I mean, if you're going to, what's the point of that? I do it too, just to be sarcastic and an ass in the upper section, shoot it. But, there are times where, even though you see that there are no shooting lanes open, you just hope that somebody gets injured and killed because of that shot. You want to see something. You
know what it is? It's frustration. It's total frustration, because when you're watching your team and things don't seem like they're going the right way,
that's true.
You feel like you just start yelling because you get pissed off, because they're, especially on a power play, when they're trying to set up, what people don't realize is you're trying to set it up. And you're right. If the lane is not there, you're not going to shoot it into somebody, have it blocked, and send an odd man rush the other way. So, as a fan, it's easy to get super frustrated with this team. And especially after last year, we had such an amazing ride last year that there's a lot of people, that kind of had higher expectations of what the season is, us included. When we started out the season 4-0, we were like, damn, all right, here we go. Right back on the same track that we were in last year. But things just find a way to kind of level themselves out. Shane Villa in the Facebook group said that, the team is a little too small and we get bullied. It's true. The Devils have a harder time against these bigger teams. And there's a lot of times where they seem to get pushed around. I mean, it's not like what McQuaid, I hate to give any Ranger credit, but McQuaid in that Ranger Tampa Bay game, Ranger Maple Leaf game, basically ragdolled. What the heck is his name? It was all over Twitter the other day, earlier today and yesterday. Anyways, my point being is, yes, this team is a little undersized, but we're built for speed and finesse, and that's more of what the league is trending towards. And there's not a lot of those bigger teams out there where they're going to bully us around all the time. So I mean, it's I don't know, man. It's tough. We're in a rebuild. You're in a full blown rebuild. You know what I mean? So you can't expect, like, last year was great, but there's a lot of things that happened that made last year happen, and it was we rode Keith Kincaid for a while. Taylor Hall had an unbelievable season, and statistically, which is crazy, he's having a better season this year than he did last year.
Is he really? Is he really?
Statistically, yeah. Yes. Point wise, he is. Yes.
Well,
I mean, there's a lot.
Here we go again. I got a grievance.
Buyout Schneider. Phil in the Facebook group. Buyout Schneider now, or wait another year. You can't really buy him. That's way too much money to try and buy him out now. We're stuck. You're stuck with that albatross.
Is that one of your grievances?
It wasn't. Dude, I was the biggest Schneider fan, and I was like one of the people that would like, oh, give the guy a break. He's good. We just have no defense. And then it gets to a while. You're like, damn it, everybody's right.
I was actually the biggest non-fan of Corey. Nothing against him personally or as a player. I just never thought I just never thought they should have made the trade. Not because he's not talented or whatever. I just thought that they would have been better off getting him.
They had a number 6 pick, and they had the 9th overall pick or something like that. And I thought it was 6.
Yeah, it was something like that. But it was at least in the top 10. I just felt that they could have gotten a goaltender of that caliber through free agency where you didn't have to give up much money. You're going to have to pay Schneider anyway, which they did. But, I just thought that Lou overplayed his hand, and then the whole Marty thing, and then they were sharing time and this and that. I mean, if you're going to go on a rebuild, let Marty do whatever he needs to do. Let the team tank and then rebuild. But instead, Marty went off to college. He went to the St. Louis Blues, as far as I'm concerned. So Marty.
You're saying what you're trying to say to me is if Marty would have stuck around, and then you watched our beloved Hall of Fame goaltender struggle through insanely bad seasons, where he's barely getting through a season. You're saying as a fan, you would have been okay with that? Trust me, the way he left, I was not cool with how he left and how everything kind of it didn't feel right. And then you see him in a Blues jersey and you're like, oh, that just doesn't feel good at all. And then it just that transition between him and Corey, it was uncomfortable. And then the whole splitting time thing. And it was just it was forced and it just felt weird. It's like going on a bad date. You know what I mean? It was just it just doesn't feel right the entire time. And then when everything was said and done, things happened the way they happened. But what you're trying to tell me is you would have rather seen Marty go through some horrifying, tanked up, terrible seasons where he gets 6 wins in a 20 game stretch, if that, a 26 game stretch. Is this what you're trying to tell me?
No, that's not what I'm trying to tell you. Because at some point, Marty would have said, all right, I got to ask myself this question here.
Mm-hmm.
Do I retire as a Devil? Because he's still on the team. I think he would have just retired as a Devil. He would have seen the rebuild coming, and there's nothing you could do about it. There's nothing you could do about it. I mean, everybody was retiring at that point. Elias was retiring. Yager, went off elsewhere. This and that. By the way, John Mendes says that they should put me in net. You know what? They would. If you ever put me in net, I played goalie in every sport but hockey. But the only goalie goaltending position or goalie experience I have in ice hockey is pretty much sitting in the stands with Marty's pads on. But yeah, so there's a lot of grievances going through the Facebook Live chat. Douglas Walker.
Oh, hey, Douglas Walker. Welcome back,
haven't,
bro. I feel like I haven't seen him in a while.
I know.
So Eileen says, wait, I gotta go back into some of our comments here. So Phil asked, does the last place finish make Hall want to leave New Jersey? We're going to talk about that in 1 second. I'm going to get back to that one. Eileen said, it's just sad to watch this team when they're in the bottom. Now, I never want to say this, but it might be time for a coaching change. Essentially, it is really, really hard to say there should be a coaching change. Maybe not the head coach. I think John Hines still has this team. If he didn't have this team, you wouldn't have results like you did the other night. That's what makes it so hard. Usually when you fire a coach, it's because they're so bad and there is lack of effort every single night. This team does show effort. This team does show grit, and they do show that they want to play for each other and they want to play for something. But maybe there's some other positions coaching wise that they could, move away from. Because then you have to go through the whole, well, who's going to be the next coach and this, that, and the other thing. And that becomes like a whole to do. And I know a lot of people would say Rick Kowalski, who's the assistant coach, who is our coach in Binghamton, who's a very qualified coach, and I think would be a great NHL head coach. I think he would probably take over the reins next, because it seems like Ray Shero has this kind of like little tree that he's trying to build there, But in the same sense, I don't know if a coaching change is what needs to happen. It's just this team just needs. I don't know what. Honestly, it's like it's a conundrum because it's bad goaltending. Yeah, and I guess all the people that hate on Corey Schneider, you can't really blame Corey anymore. I guess it's both him and Keith. So you're hoping that Mackenzie Blackwood comes in and plays decently. I don't know. It's a weird thing. And I'll tell you what, if this trends in the same direction and we're starting to pedal ourselves into into March, and this team is or into February, into March, and this team is still going in the same direction, you're going to start to see probably Marcus Johansson get dealt. You're probably going to see possibly like somebody like Miles Wood get dealt. You'll see somebody like, Ben Lovejoy probably get dealt if anybody would take him on. This team is going to sell off everything that they can. And you'll see a bunch of young kids get brought up, and you'll just tank out the rest of the season and hope that the lottery ball lands in your favor and they get Jack Hughes or that kid from Finland.
You talking about young kids that are coming up. Is there anybody in particular, Beer Baron?
Yeah, Mikey McLeod. Let's be real.
Well, here's another grievance I have. And it's not really, it's Mikey McLeod, but it's not really him. What the heck was that all about? 5 minutes of ice time. You bring him up.
That was breaking my heart. That was just an excuse to break my heart. So Mike in our Facebook group, and I'm going to get back to the whole, is Taylor Hall going to stay or is he going to leave? Mike said, at what point during the rebuild process do we stop making excuses? Okay, that's a loaded question, because you can make excuses until you completely figure it out, and sometimes it takes a way longer process than other times. Look at what the Pittsburgh Penguins went through before Sidney Crosby came into the fold, right? They were a pretty terrible team for a good long stretch of time. The Rangers were good, and they still suck, but they were a good, terrible team for a very long stretch of time. There's teams that go through these rebuilds, and they take a very long time because your cupboards are dry. You don't have a lot of assets to send off. There's not a lot of free agency out there. A lot of the drafts aren't really good. What the Devils have in their favor is they have two things. Number one, there's a lot of really good prospects coming out of this draft, and there's a couple of generational players like Jack Hughes. If the Devils can get Jack Hughes, he plugs right into the starting lineup. He's in your top six forward. He's a top six forward for your team, and that kid is going to make a huge impact. People are comparing him to Connor McDavid. I think it was I got to look this up, but he was like a point shy from Austin Matthews' junior record or something like that last year. And he's younger, blah, blah, blah. This kid is insane. He's a generational talent who can change your franchise. And if you put him together with the likes of Hall and Heischer, and you have yourself like a nice core to build around, then you go into free agency, and there's a decent crop of free agents that are going to be coming out too, both forwards and defensemen. So this team can get rebuilt. The Devils also have a ton of cap space. They have a ton of flexibility. They are able to make moves. I hate to say this because it's so cliche. Trust the process.
Well, I just want to take a station identification right now that you are listening to the Let's Go Devils podcast live here on Facebook Live, Periscope, Twitter, YouTube Live. You can also find us on letsgodevils.com. Oh, by the way, Beer Baron, the Let's Go Devils podcast is on the road again, back at the Tavern on the Rocks in beautiful Rockaway, New Jersey, 9 Wall Street. On December 27th, starting at 5 p.m., a pregame podcast, a live podcast before the Devils take on the Boston Bruins. And our special guest is number 23, Bruce Driver, former captain, Stanley Cup champion, and now Devils alumni president. Will be with us on Thursday, December 27th. And I know some people are working. It doesn't matter. Just tell the boss, I got to go.
Yeah, come on diarrhea. You got the trots and you got to get out of there. You know, put some water on the back of your pants. Make it look like you had an accident. Run out of there like your hair's on fire and come hang out with us and Bruce Driver. And if you get there early enough, the owner of this establishment, who is one heck of a nice guy. If you come inside and you see him, he's the bald guy with the tattoos on his arm. If you go up to him and you give him a big smooch on the cheek and you give him an extra special hug, he might even give you a free Bud Light. You never know. You never know. He's a very friendly guy. He likes his head being rubbed for good luck. Be careful though. He might give you an extra squeeze in that hug back. So, no, it's going to be, in all seriousness, it's going to be a lot of fun. Last time we were there, we had a huge turnout. Everybody was watching the game. Unfortunately, it was the game right before, it was the last game of the season last year. And unfortunately, the Devils lost to Washington. But it was fun. We had Grant Marshall out last time. So it's going to be cool. We're going to have Bruce Driver. We're going to be having a load of fun. Get the waffle fries. I highly recommend the waffle fries. They're amazing.
I like the
Eric
pierogies.
Eric Burns says, I can fake a low blood sugar and come. Dude, Eric, do it. Bring as many friends as you can. Spread the word.
And Eric, you better bring some M&Ms and some candy to this shindig. I'm telling you, you better bring some candy to pass out. Eric, if you bring some candy, I'll get you an autographed Bruce Driver puck. How's that sound? If you bring all this candy to our December 27th.
Rob's going to be there, our good friend Rob.
Oh, yeah. Well, we should ask everybody in the Facebook Live group and YouTube Live and Twitter and Periscope, are you guys coming? This is a great way to RSVP so we can get somewhat of a head count, you know.
Jameson, 18-year-old stock. It's going to go down easier. I won't finish the rest of that. Yeah, you know what? Honestly, it's going to be a good time. If you guys want to come out, tell as many people as you want. We're going to be hanging out after the podcast. We're going to hang out and watch the game, and it should be a good time. So, you know, maybe you could buy one of these awesome sweatshirts that Shore Sky made.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can see that in the background right there. I got the black one over here.
I'm wearing the green one.
Yeah, well, I actually have the green one, but it's kind of off camera right now. So let me see if I can move this, and hopefully I don't. Maybe that was a better camera angle. Oh, that looks better. Yeah, so I got the green one, and then I got the black
we're gonna have giveaways.
Yeah, you can buy it.
Melissa's going to be there giving away some fun stuff.
Oh,
it's going to be a good time. It's going to be a good time. You know,
it's
maybe
a great time.
And if the Devils win, we'll be happier for it.
Eric, we've
5
repeated the time.
5 p.m.
We've repeated the time several times on this podcast. It starts at 5 p.m. Melissa just put it down. Douglas writes, Samra, the camera loves you. Well, we love you too, Douglas. Anyway, enough of this, love talk and all this kind of stuff. We got to get back to our grievances. You know what? I haven't really paid attention to the switchboard, but we have 0 callers right now. But we should plug it.
Good.
If you want to talk to us, call us now, 516-531-9321. We don't know if this thing really works or not, but we're going to try and take your calls, air your grievances. Happy Festivus. Today is the day to just air it out. I mean, we don't want to really turn this into a bitch fest, but it may turn into that. But still, air your grievances. Talk about just keep the hits clean. And by the way, this is another positive thing.
Hey, Eric Burns, you live in Hackettstown. I live not that far from Hackettstown.
You may not want to tell Eric.
I'm not going to say where I live.
Oh, okay.
Just close there.
But hey, by the way, we had such a great
post
time.
Post the number, Douglas. Douglas Walker said post the number.
Post the number. I did post the number before. Let me do it again. All right. 516 531 9321. Call us now. All right. And I'm going to put it right into the Facebook.
Now I understand the M&M's comment because he works at the Mars company or the M&M's
Yes.
Company. I get it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not that
far. Yeah. So we're all going to get a sugar high on this December 27th game, too.
It might be the only thing that we have to look forward.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So we got to.
Honestly, this season's one of those seasons where it's like, you could tell it's wearing on the players. You could tell it's wearing on the coaches. It's wearing on the fans. People are booing. It's not fun. These are. Oh! Is someone calling in?
No, I don't know if this thing is working.
Oh, great!
Yeah,
guys, it's the day before Christmas. We're all a little tired. The team sucks right now. It's sucking the life out of us.
Yeah, definitely. Douglas Walker writes, I'm listening on my phone. Post it. I'll call. Well, let's see here. I did post it. 516-531-9321. Again,
yeah, keep it clean though.
531-9321. Yeah, you got to keep the hits clean because you don't want to be that person that just spoils it for all because we can't take callers anymore because you couldn't keep the hits clean. You got to keep it clean.
Joseph says telemarketer calls. Yeah, we get a lot of those too. You get one in, it's like, by the way, if you know, they have to keep you on the phone as long as you don't curse at them. So if you get a telemarketer or somebody that's like, calling you about Viagra or whatever, you could literally say, "Merry Christmas, Tim." You could literally say the weirdest stuff to them that you can think of, and they have to keep on the phone. So it's fun to get a. He goes, "I'm calling. Is this a pizza delivery line too?" That's what Rob said.
I think we got our first caller. I don't know how to do this, so I think you're gonna have to go solo for
sure.
And I think I know who this is.
Is it Rob?
Yeah, I think it's Rob. So maybe I don't have to screen. Rob, you are on the Let's Go Devils podcast. How you doing, Rob? No, it doesn't work, does it? All right, now people are calling in. Rob, are you there? Or maybe it's not Rob.
Terrible. Whoever this is, who are you?
Doug.
Oh, Doug. What's up, Doug?
Oh, it wasn't Rob. No wonder it didn't work.
This is a very professionally run show, I have to tell you.
Oh, thanks. We appreciate it.
I'm kidding, guys. Happy holidays to both of you.
To you as well. So what's on your mind?
Okay. I have a grievance. I don't know if it's a grievance as much of a statement, but I hate Damon Severson. I would love to see them trade him and get anything for him. I don't think he's improving at all. and I don't know why they even dress him half the time. What do you guys feel about Damon Severson?
I mean, honestly, it's Damon Severson. I don't hate him as much as you do. I unfortunately have to say, but he would be a good chip to get something in return. There's a lot of people that during the Nylander situation were pontificating that he would be one of the pieces that if the Devils were trying to send something up to Toronto to get Nylander, it would be Damon Severson. He is unfortunately one of your best defensemen on the team. What is that?
I mean, I'm sure you're a much bigger student of the game maybe than I am, and you feel that way. But I think he is complete garbage. I don't think he's improved one bit. His best year was his rookie year. I don't think he's played close to that rookie year since.
I mean, you can't deny that during his rookie year, he did have like some of his brighter moments, but at the same time, he has incrementally gotten better. Last year was probably one of his worst years, and it didn't help that Hines was setting him down every other game. It just seems like he's one of those kids, like defensemen they're not like, a forward where you can just jump into the NHL.
I understand. I completely understand, but I said I completely understand that point, but I don't think he's really improved a lot. And he's had a lot of playing time. He's been given a lot of chances. I mean, obviously, like a guy like Andy Green, he's a veteran, and he's showing his age more and more every year. He gets chances to stay in the lineup, but Damon Severson, to me, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just I'm just watching him and I'm not watching anybody else. I just see him make mistake after mistake, and it doesn't seem like he learns from his mistakes.
Doug, I have a question here, and this is and answer me honestly. There were a lot of rumors that Damon Severson was in that trade offer for Taylor Hall. If you had to pick,
I would have loved that. I would have kept Larson over him. If that was
really,
case, I would have traded Severson in a second. Larson was on an upswing with the Devils when he got traded. Obviously, since he's all the way across the country now, or in Canada across the country, though, you don't see him as much and you don't really hear about him. But I would have done that in a second. If it was Severson or Larson, Severson would be in Edmonton right now.
Wow.
What does everybody else on Facebook feel like? What is the overall? By the way, if you hear me pause, that's because when I talk, I can't hear. It's like it cuts off.
I understand. Okay.
All right. Well, we're going to do something right.
Player. I don't think he's good.
Well, thank you, Doug. I got to cut you off right now because this is the one fun thing about telephone switching is we get to cut people off at any time, and I just got to use Doug as a guinea pig. But thank you for calling, Doug, and airing your grievances. 516-531-9321. That was a great call. That was a great first call. We've never used this system before. It's a little weird, but
the one thing that you guys have to understand is like when it's not like when you and I are talking where I can hear you for whatever reason, it cuts off. I can't hear them whatsoever. So if I'm talking, it cuts off. So the next person that calls in, whoever it is, if you call in, I'll try to like stop talking and then like let you talk. And I won't try to jump on top of you. Sorry, Doug, if I cut you off a little bit there, but it's good to talk to you.
Well, we still have some. Go ahead.
I want to see what other people feel like about Damon Severson too. I kind of want to get like how everybody in the Facebook group feels about him. The defense. So Nate in our Facebook group just said the defense is atrocious. At times it is atrocious, and Sammy Vatanen is definitely hands down the best defenseman that we have on this team. Will Butcher. He has regressed in a few games this year. There's been a few times where his play has dropped off dramatically, and he's just gotten beaten going back for the puck. He's not the fastest guy in the world. Damon Severson, I know, Doug, you bring up a lot of good points. He hasn't progressed as you would like to see, but I think what the problem is that we were expecting him to be a top pairing defenseman. He's never going to be a top pairing defenseman, but I think he's a serviceable defenseman. I don't think he's atrocious, and I don't know, man. I just don't hate him as much as Doug does. But hey, you're entitled to your opinion. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just don't agree. So do we have somebody else lined up? Sam, your microphone's off.
Yeah, we have a lot of technical difficulties. Yeah, we have somebody on the line right now. I don't know how to screen them. I don't know how to use the software, but your phone number ending in 6. How are you doing? This is the Let's Go Devils podcast.
Hello.
Who's this?
Hello. This is Eric.
Eric.
Oh, what's up, Eric?
How you doing, Eric?
Poor, fat, and ugly. Other than that, I'm all right. Team right now is just it's not really so much a grievance. I think they overachieved last year. They're an easy team to read. If anybody's old enough in the group to remember Karen Carpenter, that's kind of she would probably be our best hitter if she played on our team. We have no physical strength. Even you watch these guys, and if a mouse farts, it blows them off the puck, and that's not a good issue. I mean, we have a ton of team speed, more than we've had in a long time. I'm kind of hoping they do a fire sale at the end of the year. Guys like I've never been an Andy Green fan, and I know I get a lot of shit or crap in the Facebook groups about this, but he's kind of had moments of mediocrity or average and a career of mediocre. He's just never been. He may be a great team leader, but I would like to see him and Zajac go. Maybe a team that has a chance in the playoffs. Maybe an injury, they can get a high draft pick for either one of those guys. Maybe both. I think this offseason is going to be the biggest question mark for the team to see if Shiro really has this team. We'll take this team to the next level with there's a lot of great free agents. It's supposed to be a really strong draft year, and the way we're playing right now, looks like I'm thinking maybe top 10 at least. So I think, we're kind of pissed off as fans, but I think if we let this year ride out and where we're going to be at the end of the off season, I think it's going to be the true test for this team to see who stays, who goes, and if we can build our talent pool. Because our talent pool is kind of like the Philadelphia Flyers and Rangers team pool. It's a lot of chlorine. It's getting better, but we still need a lot of work. And so I guess you just have to kind of grin and bear it. That's the only real big issue that I have is just, it's a long 82-game season, but I think after this year of Shiro can work some magic or something, I think we'll be okay. And that's pretty much it. Have a great one, guys.
Thanks, buddy. Honestly, I agree with a lot of points that this is kind of one of those seasons that at the end of the year, you want to try to see them completely restructure this team. And you hope that Ray Shiro has the wherewithal to kind of figure out what's going on. If it progresses the same way that it's been going, they will end up getting a top, at least you said top 10, I think a top 5 draft pick. And those are listen, you need to have terrible seasons in order to make your team relevant. I mean, you can't look at Edmonton or you can't look at the Edmonton Oilers because they were just it was apparently just a mess up there. And even though they had a number 1 draft pick like year after year after year, they could never put it together. You have to look at other teams in a way that if you're terrible for any stretch of time, you're going to be able to start rebuilding yourself through the draft. You're going to start to be able to rebuild your farm system. When Lou left and Ray Shiro took over, the Devils farm system was terrible. It was depleted. There was a lot of terrible contracts that were still on the books. Ray basically overhauled this entire this entire roster. If you look at the roster from the day that Ray Shero took over the team until now, you sit back and you're like, damn, this guy did a lot, and he is, completely shaken up this roster and made it 10 times better than what it was and where it was trending to go. They have a lot of cap room. They have a lot of things that they're able to work with. Honestly, this is one of those off seasons that I feel like I said earlier in the show, is suited for what's happening to the Devils right now. You have an amazing draft. You have a lot of really top-end talent that's coming out in the draft. You have a lot of decent players that are going to be available as a free agent this summer. He didn't get James Van Riemdijk. He didn't get, Carlson this past year. He didn't get a few other guys. But then you look at it and you're like, you know what? What has JVR done this year? Like the whole appeal of he's a Jersey guy, bring him back. Like he went to Philadelphia. What is he really doing in Philadelphia? Is he really lighting it up down there? You know what I mean? So there's some things that he balked on a few free agents, or he didn't offer him enough, or whatever the case may be, where he said he was in on somebody and it didn't work out. It doesn't seem like any of those free agents that he was in on are out there making a world explode. So I don't know. Do we have anybody else?
No, we don't have any callers, but if you want to call in and air your grievances, you can call us at 516-531-9321. Again, the number is 516-531-9321. And we're constantly checking the switchboard right now. But just remember, this is the Let's Go Devils podcast, which we are the most commented Devils podcast in the history of New Jersey Devils podcasts. And the other day I was having a private conversation with Rebecca Moose Morse of the Metropolitan Riveters that was at our event, or the Devils Die Hard charity Oasis event. And she said something to me that I thought was kind of a compliment. Well, she did say that too. No, she didn't. Of course she didn't. We were talking hockey, and she said, you guys, this is legit. And we're very consistent with our podcast that we do it every week, every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Let's start plugging a little bit on Facebook Live / Let's Go Devils Podcast. You can find us on Twitter, Periscope at Let's Go Devils Pod, and you can subscribe to our YouTube Live, our YouTube channel, Let's Go Devils. Very simple. Oh yeah, and we're also on Twitch. We're on Twitch.
Okay, I'm going to say this out loud because I want him to call in. Nate, if you can hear me, I want you to call in because he is a Binghamton season ticket holder. So I want Nate to call in. If you post the number, you got to post it again. Post or say the number again, because if you can hear it, Nate Holland, call into the station if you can. I have so many interesting questions for you. Some of them might involve Mikey McLeod.
516-531-9321. You can air your grievances now, Devils fans. And we do have somebody on line 1 with the phone number ending in the last digit is 1. You are live with the Let's Go Devils podcast with Sam Wu and Beer Baron. How are you doing?
Great. How are you guys this evening?
Good. What's your name, buddy?
My name is Jay, and unfortunately I was at that game today.
Oh, boy.
Watch. I can't blame Kincaid on those first 2 goals. There was no chance. Whoever was playing left D just left that whole area vacant. My big grievance with the team this year is they are so out of sync. Their passing is terrible. Their positioning is terrible. And it just seems like they're playing pond hockey. Now, who do we look at for that? To me, that's coaching. Aren't they? Well, the players have to be responsible also, but the coaching staff has to be the ones that really hold them accountable.
Yeah, Jay, you bring up a great point because there's been a lot of predictability with the team and the way they play, especially on the power play, and you want to see some changes and some things kind of shaken up with this team. Does it start with the coaching? Definitely does, but I still feel like, as we mentioned earlier, I feel like Hines is still getting his message to them, and they still play for him. And I don't know if it needs to be necessarily him getting replaced, or if there's somebody on the coaching staff that does. And if so, well, I'll throw it back to you. Who do you feel like, if it's not John Hines, who do you think that they should look to replace?
Well, I don't think Hines really does need to be replaced because you're right. The players really respect him. I've said this, to other people the last couple of years. Our assistant coaches just haven't really. Their plan just doesn't seem to work, or the players just aren't executing what they want. That we'll never know. However, it's the assistant coaches that are the ones supposedly coaching them, if I'm not mistaken. When we had Stevens and Oates in here, what were they doing? Suddenly the team was better at the face-offs, better defensively. So where do you turn? That would be where I would start. Kowalski, I wasn't a real big fan of him. And Nasruddin, maybe it's time that they look for different assistant coaches. Start there.
It's funny you say that because I've heard a lot of people say that they are kind of like jumping up and down that they should bring back Scott Stevens because they felt that the defensive core was at its best when he was the assistant coach, or at least in charge of the defense. I think you're right in the sense that there needs to be some sort of shakeup in the coaching in that little circle, but I'm not sure if that's going to really impact this team in a way that needs to be impacted. I feel like it's just, I don't know. It's just one of those seasons where you just kind of have to go through these bumps and bruises.
Yeah. Well, somebody's got to teach him how to win a face-off. That's for sure. I don't know who it is. Somebody has to teach him.
Yeah, you got that right.
I used to play goal. I could probably do better. But
yeah,
I don't know.
It's a pretty good grievance to have, and it's a great point because first of all, thank you very much for the call, Jay. It is one of those good points that you feel like maybe if they change Kowalski, maybe if they change one of these coaches, maybe if they change the defensive coach and bring in somebody that can like really bring this unit together. It just seems like this team, and I said this a couple of weeks ago about the power play, that the power play was so unbelievably predictable that they set up the same exact way. They approach breaking into the zone the same exact way. Nothing changes. There's no like straying away from the identity. It's like circle around, get it to this point, get it to that point, move it over to the right, move it over to the left. Hopefully, Palmieri will take a one-time shot. And if it doesn't work the way they need it to work, it gets thrown down the ice, and then we're starting all over from scratch. And then even the way they, like I said, the way that they enter the zone, it's just unimaginative. And sometimes they need to shake it up by like just taking people off of the power play and putting different people on. I love Will Butcher, and I'm so happy he's a part of this team, but maybe take somebody else and put him, put them into Butcher's spot, or, shake things up that way, or just try to move things around.
Hey,
Christian says you guys are awesome. Thank you, Christian. We appreciate that.
Beer Baron, I just want to say something. I think I figured out how to screen the callers. And by the way,
okay.
Our callers have been great. We've had 3 callers so far. Again, keep the cleans hit. Keep the clean hits. No, keep the hits clean. But also quick shifts. We got to get these callers through. So, Beer Baron, you're gonna have to go solo you're gonna have to go solo for a minute here because I got to go off air to screen this call. So you are going now.
Vladdy, all right, so I'm going to go through some of the questions or some of the comments. I hope it's Nate that's calling in, by the way, because Nate, like I said, I have a lot of questions for you, especially being a Binghamton season ticket holder. First of all, one of the things that they started doing, it was posted on Twitter, they have a replay cam that they actually have the camera set up behind whatever goal they're shooting at, and it's in the crowd. And so when you see the replay, you get it like the vantage point of the crowd. And I thought that was one of the coolest things. And I said, I forget who it was that posted it. It was somebody that, that is associated with the Binghamton Devils. I said, try to talk to somebody up in the big leagues and try to get the Devils to do that, because I think that was such a cool idea. And you get like a sense and a feeling of how the crowd is. I don't know, guys. There's a lot of different things that we could. Christian says, I think everyone is panicking way too much. Sure, coaching needs to be shaken up. Yeah, everybody is panicking because it's just, you have the season that we had last year and the way everything kind of rolled out last year. You had the expectations going into this year, and everybody was over the moon excited about how last year finished, and you're basically bringing back the same exact team, and you wanted to see improvement, and it just felt like in the beginning of the season things were going in that direction, and then it just all fell apart. Goaltending has been an issue. Corey Schneider, you got to feel bad for the guy, because you could see something is clearly wrong. He's definitely not the same goaltender as he was, whether it be from the injury or whatever it is. But there's a lot of different issues with this team that need to be addressed to kind of help put them back in the same direction. And then you play devil's advocate and you say this, well, if the team is terrible and they're going down the tubes anyways, is it okay for them to suck enough to get that top draft pick? Because I keep circling back to this. This is a good year to suck. That's that. That would be a bumper sticker that would turn a lot of heads. It's a good year to suck.
Yeah, that's my call screening technique did not work. We'll have to make our adjustments. But hey, we just figured this out like what, an hour before the show. Hey, I think we're going to take callers today.
Yeah, we
hadn't done that in a while. Like when the Let's Go Devils podcast first came about 2 years ago, when we were in our pilot series, we were taking phone callers, and we were that was fun. And then we started to build the show and this and that. And but now we're taking callers 516-531-9321. Just bear with us with some of the technical difficulties we were having. But a lot of comments in the Facebook group. Everyone's airing their grievances right now.
Yeah, so Nate just said, we outshot Columbus by, almost 20 shots today. Our power play looks solid. The power play, okay, so my grievance with that statement, you have to look at it like this. What kind of shots are the Devils taking? You could take 100 shots, right? But if you're taking non-quality shots, meaning you're not really getting in these high danger zones, you're taking a pretty wide open shot where the goaltender's not screened, you're hitting them right in the crest, you're not really putting them in spots, you're just kind of just putting it on net. And you got to think of what counts as a shot. Like, even if you whiff and your stick basically grazes the puck and it trickles towards the goaltender and he like covers it up, that counts as a shot. So you have to look at the quality of the shots that are going on goal. It doesn't matter how many you take, it's the amount of quality shots that you get. So did they take 40? It was 39. They had 39 shots today. Did they take 39 quality shots? Or was it, 10 quality shots and then, how many ever other ones that were just okay? That's the hard part about it. And then you look at it, who's in goal. You have Bobrovsky, who's, you're right, the Flyers made a huge mistake getting rid of him, because they were like, oh, he's never going to accomplish anything, and they got rid of him. You have Bobrovsky on one end, and then you have Kincaid, who, as much as we love him, is starting to show that he might not be a number one, and that sucks, because I really wanted him to be a number one. Sam says we have 2 callers.
Yep, we got 2 callers. I'm going to plug this guy in here. Caller with the last digit 2. You are on the Let's Go Devils podcast here with Beer Baron and Sam Wu. What's your name?
My name is Nate Holland. I'm the Binghamton Devils season ticket holder.
Yeah, what's up, Nate?
Nate, are you there?
Nate?
Yep, I'm here.
All right, Nate, I have a question for you.
Yeah, sure, shoot.
So, what are your thoughts about the farm system, about the talent level that we have down in Binghamton? More specifically, what are your thoughts about Mikey McLeod, getting to see him on a nightly basis?
Mikey McLeod, I think, is incredible. I think he is a incredible young talent. I think he has a lot of things going for him moving up as he goes through the farm system. But looking at through what we have now in the NHL, how they keep pulling up John Quenneville, I think they should give other people a shot since this season is not quite going the way that we thought, that it would after being a playoff contender last year. And they come in this year and they're pulling up, John Quenneville. And don't get me wrong, Quenneville has, he came up, he started the season with the Devils and he didn't play too well. Then he went back down to the AHL and had 19 points in 19 games. Mm-hmm. So, that's not a lot, but for an AHL guy, he's kind of showing that he's improving. And what I've seen improvement in, I've seen improvement in Miles Wood in the NHL, and I've also seen improvement in the AHL team with Mackenzie Blackwood, especially. He's probably the most improved guy I've seen in the AHL team. Mackenzie Blackwood being the goaltender that started the last time against Columbus and only let in 2 goals and he didn't let in anything actually today playing against Columbus again. And it's just one of those things where I think we should keep giving keep giving Blackwood the chance to keep playing, because I think that Kincaid, now that Corey is not competing for his spot per se, that Kincaid is not trying as hard as he was. I think when he was competing for a starting role, he was trying a little bit harder, and I think every player would when they're competing for a starting role. But Blackwood is actually competing with Kincaid, and I don't think Kincaid realizes it, but Blackwood could take his spot, and I hope, because I'm sure you saw today that John Hines had said that he wants Blackwood to keep starting, and then after this break, Blackwood's going to see some more of the NHL. And I'm hoping they actually stick to it and they actually do it, give him a chance to show that he can actually play some hockey. And, because I feel bad for Corey. I don't think Corey deserves any of it. I don't think Corey deserves the fans booing on him and all these other terrible things that are happening to Corey Schneider. I can't believe the stuff that's happening to Corey, but it kind of hurts to see Corey go down with an injury and then come back against Tampa and be absolutely lights out, and then go down again, have surgery, and come back and can't play anymore.
Yeah, honestly, first of all, I have to address Eric Burns. No, I did not pay Nate to say that Mikey McLeod is amazing. That is just his own personal views. I just am thoroughly excited that he had those views on Mikey McLeod. No, it's kind of cool to get. The reason why we wanted you to call, Nate, is because it's kind of cool to get somebody's kind of firsthand glance at what the farm system is going, what they're doing and what's going on down there. I love your assessment of the team. I feel like you're 100% right about Mackenzie Blackwood. From all accounts, it seems that Coach Hines is going to give him more of the workload. And that also opens up the question of, well, how long is Corey Schneider going to be out for? He might be out for a longer period of time than we actually first were told or expected. So that's good. Let Mackenzie Blackwood get all the starts he can. Let's see what this kid has. There was a lot of us that were big Scott Wedgwood fans that were sad to see him go and thought that he might be the next possible answer. So it'll be nice to see what Blackwood can do. And you know what? What's going to happen is if the Devils continue to tank through the season, you're going to see a lot of these kids coming up from Binghamton, and not just Quenneville and Cini, but you're going to see Mikey McLeod and a couple of these other guys that are going to be coming up too.
And I hope Mike comes up, and I hope he does a fantastic job.
So do I. I'm banking on him coming up and having a fantastic career.
Nate, are you there?
Yep, I'm still here.
Nate, I have one question before we let you go. How are the crowds like up in Binghamton this year?
It's light. It's not. You don't see a packed house very often. The crowd that is there is very loud. They know a lot about hockey, a lot about the AHL team, and a lot of them are Devils fans or were Senators fans and are trying to get into the Devils AHL team because a lot of people there were huge Binghamton Senators fans, and now when Binghamton left, it was a big adjustment to go from the Binghamton Senators to the Binghamton Devils, but people have made that adjustment. And I mean, I don't know if you guys ever remember Jacob McDonald. He played defense last year, and he was absolutely incredible on defense. He could score. He was basically an Erik Karlsson, but he just was young, and he was talented. But he, the organization felt that it wasn't necessary to re-sign him, and I guess I understand that. But he was just an incredible talent. But the crowds in Binghamton are, it's not like going to a New Jersey Devils game. And for us, it's about 3 hours to drive down to Jersey to go to these Devils games, but we try to do it as much as we can. And for Christmas, we got the 7-game package. So that was we got us to meet Marty Brodeur and all that. So that was a huge plus to that. So it's just one of those things where you don't realize how appreciative the AHL crowd is until you go to Jersey and some of these people are screaming about, Coach Hines being a terrible coach and booing Corey Schneider and just things like that. And in the AHL, you just don't see things like that as much because I guess because there's less people, but also because I think the fans are a bit more hospitable and you just don't see the little things very often.
One last thing, Nate. Next time you're in New Jersey, reach out to us, and maybe we'll meet up for a game. And the other thing, too, who's to say that we can't take the Let's Go Devils podcast on the road to Binghamton for a pregame podcast before the game? So we'll reach out to you as well.
Yeah, the Crazies from 233, I'm sure you guys know all about them. They come up to Binghamton Devils games, and when they do, it gets pretty wild there. But that's something you see pretty often is they'll come up for just a couple games, maybe here and there every couple of months. But, I mean, when they do, the players enjoy it because some of those guys have played in the NHL for a little bit and experienced the Crazies from 233. But, actually seeing them in an AHL crowd is a bit crazy.
Yeah.
Well, that's great, Nate. Yeah, and watch out for the Section 19 psychos that go up to Binghamton as well. Thank you for the call, Nate, and please reach out a little bit later. We also got another person on the line right now.
Oh man, keep it going.
This is Shorts guy from somewhere in beautiful New Jersey. Shorts guy, how was the JV high school hockey game tonight?
Well, my goaltender did really well, and that's pretty much it. 3-1 loss. Here, Brian, I heard you talking about today's showing on the ice for the Devils.
Yeah, dude. I honestly I still can't boo, but they suck today. There's no way around it.
Oh, they were not good at all today. They had a spurt where they put some pressure on, and then it was looking like, all right, well, maybe they can build something off of this, and then they gave the puck right away, and it was done. That 5-on-3 for 2 minutes with 6 shots on goal or something in that neighborhood, they couldn't put a home. They were getting in the way of each other's shots, like they just looked so disorganized. It's the whole team right now is just not good. From the goaltending on out, we're getting good performances from Kincaid, obviously at times, but he's not. I heard you say before, and I've said this before on the podcast. He's not a starter. He's good for what he do for us. He's good for spurts, but he's just not a solid starter. Doesn't say that he can't develop into one still. I mean, he's still young, but he's just not that out-and-out starter that everyone thinks he is. trade Snyder, give Kincaid the keys. It's not there yet. I hope it gets there. But, though, it's hard as a goaltender when you're playing in front of a team that's terrible because you have nothing. You have no support. The Devils can't win if they can't score. And, they're with the age of the shootout, there's going to be a winner. And if you can't score at all during the game, we've seen Devils in performances in the shootout. I don't want to be negative, but there's not much positive to talk about with the team right now, which is why it's Festivus today and airing grievances.
Yeah, dude. It's like we were trying to sit here and figure out, and we talked about this a bunch of times. That. Like we try to figure out what the hell's wrong with this team, and you can't put your finger on one thing because you want to be like, it's the goaltending, and then the goaltending will have a lights out night and they'll still lose, and you're like, what the hell? And then you're like, it's the defense, and the defense will have a lights out night and we can't score a goal, and we're like, well, okay, it's the offense, and it's like they put up 6 goals and we still find a way to lose. It's insane. Like, this team is so unpredictable.
Well, it seems like we've had strings of where we'll have games where, one of those 3 pieces will work and the other 2 won't work, or 2 of the 3 will work and 1 won't work and cost us the game. Today, all of it didn't work. I mean, when you let in 2 goals on 2 shots and have 1 more in the period, I was almost disappointed because at the end of the first period, I wanted to say, and his save percentage is 0.0. But and it's not that I wanted to do bad, but it's just like, holy, like, I'm baffled because this is the same team essentially from last year, and we all know what they did last year, right? They did well. Punched above their weight for sure, but they did well. It's, for some reason, it's either A, the rest of the league figured them out, or B, they just lost it. I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah, and that's true. It's like you see, it's if you look at the roster, it's almost identical as last year when they went deep into the playoffs. When they went deep into the season, I wish when they went deep into the season and they made it to the playoffs and they had that, like, just overall the entire season was exciting. You had Taylor Hall's point streak, you had Kincaid lifting up the team, and there was like so many positive things. And Kincaid last year, if you would have asked me, I would have been like, hell yeah, he's a number 1. Like, this dude just proved he can carry this team. And then you saw that, like, kind of like that chink in the armor last year in the playoffs when you went up against a team like Tampa Bay and Kincaid he couldn't hold his own against a team like that. And you're like, well, yeah, it's Tampa Bay, blah, blah, blah. And then this year, I hate to say it, and I really was holding on and, like, grasping onto this and, like, holding on for dear life, saying, like, no, he could be the number 1. He could be the number 1. If something happens to Corey and he's gone, Kincaid can be our number 1. But I don't know. Like, I think it's starting to the true colors are starting to show, and it's unfortunate because I feel like you said, he's just not a number 1.
Kincaid is a good goalie. He's a really good goalie. It's just he's inconsistent. He'll play out fantastic, and we can't score, and we'll lose 1-0, or we'll lose 2-0, or we'll lose 2-1. But then he'll go out, and he did this last year too. He'll let up a 4 spot, and it just looks awful. So it's consistency with him, which is something that if we can notice it, they notice it. They're just something's not working and fixing it with that, and Snyder is, I'm guaranteeing Snyder is majority mental is his issue.
Oh, yeah.
And with, he's had an injury, and I can tell you from experience, when you get one injury, you are in the back of your mind always. There's a little bit there saying, like, oh man, what if I do that again? Or, like, you go to make that motion again, and it's nerve-wracking to make that motion because you never know. Like, you may do it 37 times and you're fine, but 38th time you could tweak it again. So it's really, like I said before, it's hard to gain confidence as a goaltender when you have a team that's not playing in front of you. that's getting in their own way, that's getting in your own way, that's putting them in your net, man, you just have to throw your hands up. And you just look at them like, what is going on? What is wrong with you?
Yeah. Yeah, it gets frustrating. It definitely gets frustrating. You know, somebody, Alan Moda in our Facebook group said they got exposed by Tampa Bay in those 5 games, and the management did very little. So that's another thing, too, that a lot of Devils fans will point to is over this past offseason, they did very little to improve the team. There wasn't – what you guys have to understand is, like, I hate to say this, the crop of free agents was not really that good. You know what I mean? Like, Erik Karlsson was the headliner of that crop, and there was like a kind of a whisper of that, you know, he might be leaving Washington, but for the most part, he loves where he's at. So as soon as he signed, the talent level dropped dramatically. You know, Calvin DeHaan, everybody's like, oh, we should have had Calvin DeHaan. Dude, Calvin DeHaan's not like going to change the way this Devils franchise is going to play right now.
No, there wasn't a game changer available that was going to, or like you said, there was 1 or 2, and they were going to come at a stiff price, and that just it wasn't worth throwing good money after bad if the talent or the need wasn't there for what that particular player was able to provide. On top of that, I'm wondering if maybe whoever it is, talent-wise in the organization, maybe overestimated what they saw last year and said, you know, to management, like, oh, yeah, this will be good, we'll build on it. And it's like it was just terrible advice or like a wrong decision or something. You know, they saw something last year that maybe they thought was going to, you know, build into this year, but it didn't.
Yeah. I feel like maybe they were hoping that Schneider, because if you remember, like in that playoff run against Tampa Bay, Schneider showed really well. You know, even though they didn't win that series, like you came out of that series saying, you know what, Schneider came back, he looked pretty solid. You know, we just got beat by a better team, and that was it. And do you think that maybe that the management said coming into this season, Schneider's going to be healthy, and then he went in and got that surgery, and they're like, well, you know what, Kincaid, you know, he did great during that stretch run. He'll be able to hold the fort down, then Corey will come back and everything will be fine. So maybe they were, you know, resting their laurels on that, and they didn't realize that it wasn't going to pan out the way they were hoping. Either way, the season is falling apart. Screw it. Let it keep falling apart. And I hate to say this, tank all the way down to Jack Hughes.
Yeah, I heard that once or twice today at the game, you know, tank for Hughes, but I don't know. The way the Devils are going this year, they'll find a way to screw that up.
Yeah, and by the way, and right now as we're talking, there's people that are bringing up Ty Smith. Let's not forget, we have Ty Smith. This kid is killing it right now. And, you know, I feel like Ty Smith is going to be he was one of those people in the draft that and I'm not saying this as like from our point of view or like for our podcast or whatever. There's a lot of people in the hockey community, in the hockey world, that are saying that Ty Smith should have never fallen as far as he did to the Devils, and that he is going to be one hell of an NHL defenseman, and he's going to be one of those guys that is, you know, a lot of teams are going to be kicking themselves if they passed over. I'm hoping that way, because it feels like he's going to probably be coming up and playing with the big club next year.
Well, defensemen take longer to really show what they can do than any of the other, you know, skaters out on the ice. So that's going to take some time. And what we really are still in definitely a rebuild. And everyone got the taste of playoffs last year, so now everyone wants it again. The problem is we've also gone, since 2012, with the exception of last year, we haven't done anything. So the fan base is obviously getting impatient because, you know, it's like, why are we paying our good money to go to these games? So it's a combination of we're still trying to figure this out, and the fan base is getting impatient, and the fan base is just, you know, rightfully so. If we're paying money for this, like we should get, you know, some bang for our buck. But there's just not been much there to get. So it sucks to say, but we just have to be more patient. Like, it's, we've got all this stuff down, all this good stuff down in the AHL. Just, it's got to develop, and development takes time. You see what happens when you player up too soon. I mean, look at that with Adam Larson. He didn't develop for a while.
Mm-hmm.
He's playing better now, but
not according to Edmonton.
Well, we all thought he was going to be, we took him, fourth, and we thought, oh, here it is, and they brought him up way too soon. Like, even a top 5 pick, like, you have to give some time before they develop, especially if they're defensemen. Like, it's just not one of those positions.
It's funny because I'm reading through the comments on Facebook, and Michael Viola, I guess that's how you say his last name, said there was no one that we could have added in this past season that would have helped, and you would have spent the cap space. That's so true. Like this past offseason, you didn't want to go and blow money on JVR. You didn't want to go blow money on somebody like Calvin DeHaan and then just chew up cap space for the sake of adding a player or like adding a name. Like, a lot of times people freak out and are like, oh, we need to add somebody right now. Like, we need to add this. A lot of the times it's better not to do anything, because you could add somebody on your team and all they do is just chew up cap space, Ryan Clough, and then never amount to anything. And I mean, like, if you don't feel that way, then I hate this is because I love Lou Lamoriello and everything he's ever done for our organization, but he had a lot of contracts for a lot of guys that you're like, hey, Lou added somebody, and you're like, dude, this dude doesn't do anything and is just chewing up cap space. And I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of...
Yeah, I totally agree. And we all see these players from the outside, so we don't actually see what they're like on the inside in the locker room. And some of these players, we may see them on the ice and another team be like, oh, that guy would be great. That guy would be great. But in the locker room dynamic, the guy might be a cancer or, just someone who's just not going to do well in the locker room, which for all of us that have played the game, we've all had that one teammate somewhere in the past that's just like, man, you are no good for this team. And, we see these players from one angle, and if they're not signing them, then, you have to take that into account as well.
Yeah, definitely. And, it's funny because you see... Eric Burns was writing, we'll skip over Hughes and we'll get the second coming of Alexander Daigle, which God, I hope not. And then somebody was saying, I got to read this again. Let's see, who was it? It was Jerry said, or we could go Crapo for Capo, and that dude is a right wing stud. That is the kid from Finland, I believe it is, who is basically like the Patrick Laine of this draft. So it's like you have your Austin Matthews, Patrick Laine. It's like the same kind of, 1-2, like who's going to be better. I don't know. There's a lot of guys that are in the farm system that they could bring up, and you're going to, you know what? Hey, listen, if they suck and they get to the point where they get closer to February, they get closer to the trade deadline, and they just start sending like Mojo and everybody else, and they start trading everybody else that's going to be UFA. And just clearing up room in the big club, and you just bring up as many as you can and just start giving everybody dress rehearsals and kind of run out the second or the last part of the season as like, hey, you know what? This is your opportunity to come up to the big club and show something.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. That's the point that we're going to know as a fan base when the season has been pretty much that they've waved the white flag on it. When they start bringing everyone from I almost said Albany, from Binghamton up, because that's when those, like you said, perfect wording. The dress rehearsals will begin, because that's exactly what they're going to be. Is they're going to be dress rehearsals, and they're going to see what they have. They're going to take stock of what they may or may not need to get. And then that'll be our signal to be like, well, time to just kind of just enjoy going and hanging out with friends, which is essentially what I did today with producer Sam and some of the other guys up in the last rows of the Prudential Center. It believe it or not, I actually had a fun time today.
Did you have?
Fun time at the game because I had no expectations.
There you go. That was going to be my question. Did you have a fun time because there was like zero expectation, and if they did what they did today, it was just kind of like, yep, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, that was essentially it. I had zero expectations. I hung out with producer Sam for some, for a little bit. Hung out with the other guys in the section. I wandered around. That was pretty much it. Like, I just had a fun time with zero expectations. That was all.
Shorts guy, I have a question for you. Do you have zero expectations on December 27th at Tavern on the Rocks, where you'll be appearing with us and Bruce Driver at 5 p.m.? Tell us a little bit of what your thoughts are.
I have a ton of expectations because I am excited to be involved with the podcast again. It's with my schedule being so crazy with high school hockey. Like I miss it. The 27th, Tavern on the Rocks. We're going to do a pregame podcast. We're going to have Bruce Driver, as our guest live at the bar with us. It's just going to be a fantastic time. The three of us are going to be hanging out, which for everyone that watched our, what the podcast was on the 15th with the Devil's Die Hard event, that was just a ton of fun.
That was fun.
Other people may be joining us. Some other people may be joining us. I was talking to a couple of people today. They might come out and hang out. Some people you might recognize, some people you may not. But it is definitely going to be a fantastic time at Tavern on the Rock.
I have breaking news. So the Devils have just assigned John Quincy back down to Binghamton.
Okay.
That's it. That's all the news I got.
I heard you guys talking earlier. I would love to go up to Binghamton. I have my brother lives a little bit north of there, and I got a couple of friends in town in Binghamton. That we should absolutely look into doing that. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, dude, I would definitely do that.
Yeah, if we can make it happen, that'd be cool. It'd be a lot of fun. Plus, just to go see it. I mean, I hope everyone saw in the group what I posted as far as that big line brawl that happened between the Devils and Toronto. It's like the rare thing you don't see in the NHL anymore, a line brawl.
I feel like that's one thing that the AHL still has that the NHL does not have anymore is just straight up like scrapping.
Oh, totally. Because those guys are literally fighting for a position on a team somewhere. They are fighting to prove to themselves that they should be on a team, and that they deserve a contract to be in the NHL.
Yeah, agreed.
So yeah.
Hey, Shorts guy, hate to cut you off, but we got one more caller on the line before we have to go. All right, so we'll see you on the 27th, bud.
It's cool. I've been hogging up time. So before I go, though, everyone come out on the 27th. Come watch the game with us against Boston. Hang out for the podcast. Meet Bruce Driver. Ask him questions. We'll sure ask him questions. And just come hang out with the Let's Go Devils podcast. It'll be a great time. It's at a great bar, Tavern on the Rocks in Rockaway. Everyone just come out and hang out. You know what? I was talking to Sam today, Beer Baron, and the 27th is just going to be drinking our woes away with friends. That is what the event's going to be.
Hell yeah. That's what my plan was.
Drinking our woes
By the way,
away, really good friends in Red.
I'm rocking the sweatshirt. I've been wearing this thing ever since I got it. Anybody that is looking to buy any of our gear, I highly recommend buying this sweatshirt. It is the most comfortable thing I own.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm still wearing one of mine right now. And everyone who purchases one, just know if you purchase it, they're made to order, so it may take a little bit of time, but it'll be well worth the wait.
100%.
Well, thank you, Shorts guy. We got to let you go. We're just winding down the podcast right now. We got one more caller on the line. Last digit 6. You are on the Let's Go Devils podcast with Sam Wu and Beer Baron. What's your name?
Hey, what's going on, guys? My name's Phil.
Hey, Phil. Where are you from?
From Nutley, New Jersey. It's right by Prudential Center, actually.
What's going on, Phil?
What's going on? I have a question about Taylor Hall. I've been thinking about it. I know he's in the prime of his career. He's had rough years with the Oilers as far as the team, comes to the Devils, makes the playoffs, wins MVP. Now they take a step backwards, and I know he's got one more year on his contract at, I think, $6 million. I was wondering if you guys think he's going to, take a big contract from the Devils in the offseason, even though, we may not know what team, he may not know what direction the team's going in, or you think he's going to play it out, maybe weigh his options and go to another team. I mean, he's in the prime of his career. I'm sure he wants to win now. Just wondering what your thoughts are on that, guys.
So this is like the perfect wraparound because somebody actually asked earlier in the show, do you think that Taylor Hall is going to re-sign with the state of this team? Honestly, I feel like he will because I feel like he is going to be the next captain of this team. I feel like he has a good feeling of the direction of this team. He has a very vocal and a very prominent role on his team. And I feel like that he feels like he is kind of taking the identity of this team. They're going through a rough patch, and that is undeniable. But he also sees that there's a lot of pieces here that he can actually work with. Nico Hischier, Kyle Palmieri. There's a lot of things that work well and work well with Taylor Hall. I feel like there was a lot of things to say. I was reading this whole big article about how things went down in Edmonton, and like Taylor Hall was kind of like pegged as being like, oh, he didn't really care as much as people thought he did because he was going out and partying, and all the young guys like him and Nugent Hopkins and all these other guys like would go out and didn't really give a crap about the team, and like all they wanted to do was just go and have a good time. Hall and I'm seeing like Michael Viola is basically saying the same thing. Hall has the respect of the organization. If you remember last year during Marty's number retirement and that whole ceremony, the owners of the Devils were basically saying that the next number they want to see up in the rafters is number 9, and they want to see Taylor Hall stay with this team and retire with this team. So I believe that Ray Shero has already got it in the plans that this team will live and die by Taylor Hall. Him personally, I feel like not that he's indebted to this team, but I feel like he feels comfortable with this team. Like he feels like himself, and he can be, the hockey player and the leader that he wants to be with this team. I guarantee he doesn't like the losing aspect of it. I don't think any of them like the losing aspect of it, but there also needs to be, some changes. This is funny. Pete says need to trade Mueller and Corey away for some bangers on defense. Pete, seriously, if it was that easy, they would flip these guys real quick. Now that's the thing too is not Taylor Hall pushing 30. Time's running out time's running out in his prime. Billy Joe says that time is running out in Taylor Hall's prime. He's pushing 30. I don't agree with that. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, Billy Joe, but I think that he is right in that perfect sweet spot of his prime. He is just finding himself as a leader. Even though he was a captain in Edmonton, I don't think he was really ready to be the captain in Edmonton. I don't, and especially after they drafted Connor McDavid, it was instantly Connor's team. This is Taylor Hall's team. I don't know. I don't think he's going anywhere. I feel like he's going to re-sign. I think everything's going to be fine. I'm knocking on wood so I don't eat these words, but you have a good core to build around. You just need to go out there and plug in the rest of these little pieces and hope that everything starts to kind of pan out. I don't know. Nobody ever. Nate said nobody wants Corey. I have to I'm not breaking down any like walls or anything like this by saying this, but you're not going to get anything for Corey Schneider right now. You're going to get zero for Corey Schneider right now. If you wanted to trade him, even if you found a team that was so desperate for a goaltender and they would do anything for a goaltender. You're not going to get anything for Corey Schneider. He is injury riddled right now. He has zero confidence. He hasn't won a game in a calendar year. He cannot do anything correct. He scored on himself, for crying out loud. You guys, you're not going to get a number 1 pick. You're not going to get a number 2. I'd be shocked if they even got like a number 4 or 5 for him. It's just, that's how it is. That's how it is. Point blank, period. You know, you see people say like trade Travis Zajac and get a number 1 pick for him. And you can't even do that in NHL 19. I'm telling you, like, I hate to say it, but we all like to play armchair GM, myself included, and you want to try to get the best deal for any player that you can get. You're not going to get top prospects for the people that we have. I don't care if the only one you would get a top prospect for is Taylor Hall or Nico Hischier or even Kyle Palmieri. But there's so many Flyers would probably give someone. The Flyers would probably give us somebody good for Schneider. Not much for Kincaid now either. Jay, you hit it right on the head. Kincaid's trade value has gone through the crapper. He's just dropped off. And I mean, I hate to say it. And then Alan Beer Baron, I truly hope you are right. I just hope that management is doing okay. So I hope I'm right too. I feel like that they're going to take care of Taylor Hall. I think it's going to be all right. I think he's going to stick with the team. They're going to give him a nice big contract next year, and he's worth. If you don't think he's worth it, he's worth every single cent. You look at what he's doing this year statistically, he's better than last year. His numbers are better than last year. He's over a point a game this year. He won the Hart Trophy for the first time in franchise history. You know what I mean? So I think he's worth every cent. I don't, if they give him like a $10 million contract, $10 million a year contract where he's getting a $10 million cap hit every year, that's a little rough, a little hard of a pill to swallow. But at the same time, I think he's worth it.
Well, you know what, Beer Baron? I think we need to
Sorry,
ask
I went
the
off on a tangent.
Yeah, well, we need to ask the Gooch. The Gooch, you're on the Let's Go Devils podcast with Sam Wu and Beer Baron. What do you think about Taylor Hall? Oh, you know what? I forgot to hit the switch. So what do you think about Taylor Hall, the Gooch?
What's going on? Merry Christmas.
Merry
Hello?
Christmas, Gooch.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. You're on live air right now.
It's live. I'm doing all right. So, couple things real quick. My Dolphins got knocked out of the playoffs today. They didn't show up, and I'm sitting at the Grasshopper in Morristown. My father's asking me what the Devils for. I look. I'm like, that's 2-0. It's 3-0. I'm like, this game's over. My thoughts on Taylor Hall are this. The dude's a beast, okay? He is the future. He will be, like Barron said before, he'll be the next number up in the Raptors, the second offensive player in Devils history to hang up there. You pay that kid whatever he wants. He is a gamer. My big thing that I've been saying for about 6 months now is you have guys like John Carlson, and it wasn't a great free agency market for defensemen. But you had John Carlson sitting there, he's a Jersey kid, pay him, and they didn't do it. And they go with these guys, Andy Green, God love him, you're the captain, right? Okay, well, you're old. Time to move on. But there's no trade value for any of these clowns. Not even Severson. Butcher's not going anywhere. You gave Severson a pretty big deal. We're in a very, very bad boat with a lot of leaky holes in it right now. It's not going to get any better for a little while. We've been there before, and we'll be there again in years to come. But good things will happen. I'm going to try to stay positive, but this is a rough team to watch, man. To pay Hall and bag of pucks for Schneider. which, you know, he's maybe he can get a job at Dinosaur Barbecue. I don't know. But it's all about Mackenzie Blackwood in that right now. And I just read that he will get a very long look after the break, which I'm excited to see. So, and I feel bad for Keith because I think he's a good goaltender and he did good stuff up at Union, but they never address the defense, and it's rough, man. It's really rough. The days of the Scotty Stevens, Ken Danicos, even Rob Rampage, Ally Afraidy, those guys, they will punch you in the mouth, they'll score a goal, they'll put you in the glass. Those days are done, and it sucks. So,
well,
we'll see what happens.
Well, we appreciate your grievances, Dagooch. Thank you for calling in. Yeah, those days are over. It's a new era.
Yeah, but you can't go out and just pluck a defenseman anymore. Like a defenseman is one of the hardest. First of all, it's one of the hardest positions to develop, and it's one of the hardest positions to fill. And you can't just go out there and find somebody that's going to be a top 2 defenseman and fix all the Devils' woes. Sammy Vatanen was a steal because at the time there was an abundance of defensemen in Anaheim, and a lot of people were like pissed off because they should have went after Cam Fowler. But Anaheim's not stupid; they're not going to let Cam Fowler walk away because he's one of the better defensemen. But Sammy Vatanen's been pretty damn good, and I got to say, like in all honesty, we got lucky getting him. So now you have to either wait for somebody to come via free agency, or you got to hope that you strike gold in the draft, and then you got to give that time to develop. If you make a trade, you're going to have to give a hell of a lot up to get a decent defenseman, not even like a top end flight defenseman. You know what I mean? Like if you want to go and try to talk to, the Winnipeg about, Trouba or Barry from however you say his name from the Avalanche, which at one point they were guys that might have been able to, you could prime away from the team. They're going to cost you so much that you would have to be willing to give up some of your best talent offensively to just even get a defenseman. So then it like balances out. Do you know what I mean? Like you give up one and get the other. I don't know. Trust the process. Damn it.
Trust the
tired.
process.
I'm tired. Trust the process.
Or it's what I put up on Facebook, on our Facebook page a couple days ago. Stick with the plan.
Yeah. Exactly.
Stick with the plan, right?
Stick with the plan because sometimes we don't know what's going on. Just like we didn't know that we're getting Taylor Hall for Adam Larson. Just like we didn't know we're going to get Sammy Vatanen for, Adam Henrique. So Ray Shero is a very intelligent man, and he sees what's going on. He's not sitting in the back counting, cash going, yeah, they'll never get me. You know what I mean? Like he's not like a 1920s villain. He understands that this team is in peril right now. But at the same time, I honestly feel like this. You look at this team, and I will say this over and over and over and over. As Michael Viala says, the process is going to continue to hurt. It will continue to hurt. It will feel horrible for a long time, but in the end, it will all pay off. And if you're in a situation that the Devils are in, and you're looking at this draft class, and you're like, damn, Jack Hughes, all right, we could suck. It's okay. So maybe Ray Shero is just holding off on fixing the immediate team because he sees the future. And he sees Jack Hughes wearing black and red and skating on that Triple H line of Hall, Heischer, and Hughes.
On that note, we'd like to thank everybody that participated in the Facebook Live, Periscope, Twitter, YouTube Live chat, and listening to us on letsgodevils.com. All those that call in, thank you very much. Happy
Thank
Festivus.
You, Nate. Thank you, Nate, for making my Christmas.
Happy Festivus. We aired our grievances. We should do this more often. Come back to the Let's Go Devils podcast every Sundays, 9 p.m. Eastern. You can find us anywhere on the World Wide Web. You'll find the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and iHeart apps after the show. And just remember, we're appearing live at December 27th at Tavern on the Rocks, 9 Wall Street in beautiful Rockaway, New Jersey, for a live pregame podcast and viewing party. Our special guest is Bruce Driver. Any final words, Beer Baron?
Hey, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. May 2019 be filled with amazing things and blah 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 blah. I'm tired.
All right. Till next time, we'll see you on December 27th. Bruce Driver live at Tavern on the Rocks. Till next time, let's go Devils.